Will the housing market crash in 2025? Will interest rates finally come down? All this and more in my 2025 housing predictions. I'm real estate broker Scott Curcio, and we are going to dive in today, you guys. I've read all the different pundits from Realtor.com to Zillow to Bankrate so that you don't have to. Now, I'm going to post a link in the comments here if you want to read some of the same predictions that a lot of the most well-known voices have been putting forth. But you also don't need to, because that is what we're going to do here today. We're going to dive right in. But before we do that, remember, if you like this content and you want more of it in the new year, hit that subscribe button for me. And remember to like, comment, and share. And now let's get into our 2025 predictions. Our first prediction is around inventory and the total number of sales. Now this year, 2024, we only saw about 4 million home sales. It was the lowest we've seen since 1995. And back then, the population was 22% less than it is today. So of course, a lot of people are saying how many homes are going to sell next year. Now keep in mind, in most presidential election years, we see fewer home sales. So 2024 was presidential election year. We shouldn't be surprised that we saw fewer home sales, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. Now that has been settled, what's that going to mean for next year? Of course, we've had a housing inventory problem all year. I've been talking about it ad nauseum since the start of 2024. Experts next year are predicting we're going to see anywhere from 4.1 to 4.5 million home sales, right? That's a pretty big range. What's going to get us there? Well, by now we think a lot of people have adjusted and their mindset is adjusted to interest rates are what they are. It's not holding people back like it did 2 years ago. In a lot of cases, I think we're starting to see the allure of that low, that 3% interest rate that a lot of people have. We're starting to see that armor chink away a little bit. I see more and more people that have said, you know what? I got a cheap house, my payment's cheap, but the house isn't working for me. Maybe it's geographically, maybe it's the size of the house, maybe it's the layout, maybe family dynamics or needs have changed. A lot of people can only hold on for so long, and we're seeing that armor's chipping away a little bit. So I think in 2025, we're going to see some of those people leaving those low interest rate mortgages that they have and making their move, whether it's an upgrade, an upsize or a downsize, or a move to another market. They're going to make those moves to take control back of their life. And of course, when we talk about inventory, we have to talk about our month supply of inventory, because the other question that goes hand in hand is, Scott, is it going to be a buyer's market, a seller's market, or balance? For perspective, a balanced market is about a 5 to 6 month worth of inventory for sale. Nationally, in October, we ended at 4.2 months supply. As I say this, remember, every market is different. In Chicago, our inventory supply all year has been in the 2.7 to 3 month range. We're actually better than the national market. And generally, things that are happening on the coasts, where we're starting to see buyers markets creep in, that's probably 18 to maybe 24 months away for us here. So by and large in Chicago, if that's where you're watching me from, we should expect to see still more of a seller's market. That might get a little bit better and a little bit more advantageous for buyers as we move to the end of the year. But in general, I think we should see a little bit more in terms of homes coming on market for sale and hopefully more home sales. Remembering also one last thing. We are still anywhere from 3.7 to 4.5 million housing units short of the supply we need for our population. Just let that sink in for a minute. And that's because we haven't been building enough since 2008. The good news is the National Association of Home Builders has said that they feel more confident moving in to 2025 because of the Republican administration. I think that's going to lessen requirements, but we'll talk about this a little bit towards the end when we talk about housing affordability. How are potential tariffs and deportation going to impact that? Keep watching for that information. Next up, we're talking interest rates. What's going to happen next year? The Fed has, of course, said, we're still going to cut rates, but things are looking pretty good right now. And I think similar to what we saw this year, while we thought there were going to be a lot of them, I don't know that we're going to see more than 1 or 2, and a lot of the experts are saying that as well. We're seeing people estimating that interest rates are going to be anywhere from 6% to 6.8%. That is a wide range. The National Association of Realtors says 6. They're a little bit more bullish here. I think it's fair to say we're going to be somewhere in between. And remember, we are still below the average interest rate of a 30-year mortgage, going back 50 plus years. And what we've seen is that people have gotten adjusted to that, and on the street, I don't see as many people asking about it. They'll say, do you think rates will go down? Maybe. And you know what? If they do, you're going to refinance your house at that point. People have asked me too, Scott, where's the magic number? If you watch a lot of the reports, and I do that so you don't have to, once we get up with a 5, that could be 5.99999. When we get into a 5, that opens up a lot of people. There's a mental number for people, and that's that 5 number. It doesn't matter if it's just 5.999999. That is where we're going to see people saying, okay, it's time to move. We've been stuck in this house, or we've been stuck here, and I think what that's going to do is finally bring in a wave of a lot more inventory. Probably will balance out our market. Then we'll be not necessarily buyers or sellers. We'll be kind of balanced. Maybe we might even shift into a buyer's market at some point. But that's probably a couple years down the line, especially in Chicago. Now, where are home prices going to go next year? There are also a wide range of opinions on that in the industry. Everyone from the National Association of Realtors that thinks nationally we're going to see about a 2% growth, to Redfin that says we're going to see a 4% growth. Now, those are national numbers. I want to remind you guys. Now, in Chicago, there's some important data points that we have to think about. Single-family homes, on average, have appreciated in the last 5 years 6.6% a year. Condos and townhomes, 3.1% a year. So if we look towards that, we should see stronger performance on our homes here than the national average. Now remember, every market, including submarkets, are different, and that is wholly true in the greater Chicago area. It's a question of what type of property you have, where is it located, and what price point you're in. All of those things are going to behave differently. We've really seen that over the last couple of years. That I expect will continue, which means when you're evaluating your home, you need to make sure that you are looking at all of those different components. You can't say, oh, my neighbor over here or my neighbor down the street. If their property is in a different location or it's a different property, it's going to trade differently than what yours is going to. And lastly, too, keeping in mind, prices are likely still to go up unless we see a huge influx of inventory, right? It's simple supply and demand economics. Real estate's a commodity. If you have low supply and high demand, prices go up. So we talked about inventory, we talked about prices, we talked about interest rates. How does that all shape up for housing affordability? Friends, I don't know if it's going to get that much better next year, quite honestly. Something that I'm watching very carefully is the relation of the new administration and their economic policies, what does and does not get enacted, and how that might impact housing. What do I mean by that? Let's look at this. 30% of the labor force in the construction industry are typically undocumented or illegal immigrants. If those folks get deported, what will that mean for labor supply to build the new houses that we need? And what will that mean for the cost of labor? If we're now having to take more folks that are here and bring them in, is that going to drive that cost up? The second component of that are these tariffs that are being proposed. If we have tariffs on building materials that we are bringing in from other countries, is that going to then drive up the prices? So home construction might not get cheaper in 2025 if a lot of these policies go through. And we're going to be watching that really carefully. Maybe the price of eggs wasn't the most important thing. So there you have it, folks, my 2025 housing predictions. Of course, this is a summary looking at a lot of different experts. I am posting, as I said earlier, links below so you can read some of these predictions. And also, if you're a home buyer or a home seller that's hoping to make a move and find success in 2025, I want to remind you that they've got a whole other set of videos that'd be really helpful for you. I'm going to link them below. But if you want more content like this in 2025, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. My goal is to always bring you guys strong interpretation of the data, really good strategies that will help you in your home buying or home selling journey, and give you information. So make sure if you're going to buy or sell in 2025, you go back and watch my Savvy Buyer and my Savvy Seller videos from 2024, and come back to the channel in early January because I'm going to have my updated tactics for 2025 that'll also help you find success on the housing market. I'm real estate broker Scott Curcio, and thanks for watching.